Now, this technique is kind of a spin on something that Scott Kelby had done. If you've gone to any of his Down and Dirty classes, or even you've probably seen this on Photoshop TV as well. And what it is a way of presenting your photos, and he presents it with either one box or a series of boxes encasing the object. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but we're going to do a little something different at the end here. So here I've got my image. I'm going to go ahead and double click on it to go ahead and turn it into a regular layer. Then I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to bring up my grid. Let's go into the View menu and go to Show Grid. And I'm just going to use this grid to draw some boxes here. Let's actually fill with a color so we can see what's going on here. So I'm going to take my rectangular selection tool and just going to draw a box using the grid as a kind of a guide. You can see that the edges are snapping to that edge there. Now I've only filled this blue layer just for the sake of visibility. So on that empty layer, I'm going to Shift Delete to bring up the Fill dialog, and we're going to use 50% gray. Then, going to make a duplicate of the shape. It's going to do that really easily by holding down the Option Command key. Do you see, if I hold down the Option Command, you get a double arrow there. It tells me I'm about to make a duplicate. I'm also going to hold down the Shift key to drag it, constrain it to a left to right movement. And I'm just going to keep it one grid space in between there. We'll do it again to get a third box. So we have three evenly spaced gray boxes now. So I no longer need my grid, so I'm going to go under View and turn that off. No longer need this layer, so let's go ahead and throw that away. So let's go ahead and make sure that these boxes are aligned up. So let's go ahead and I'm going to hit Command or Control A to select the entire document and center that up. Then let's turn back on our original layer there and drag it above those gray boxes, and let's just clip it inside there. I'm going to hold down my Option or Alt key and click between the layers, and it will clip those inside those shapes. Let's put a layer beneath those shape layer, and to create a new layer beneath your currently active layer, by default it puts a new layer above your active layer, but to put one beneath your currently active layer, hold down the Command key rather, or the Control key, and just click the new icon. And let's just fill this with white. And since white is set as my background color, I'm just going to press Command Delete. There we have that. Now, I'm going to scale this in a little bit. I'm going to bring up Free Transform by pressing Command or Control T and holding down Shift Option so it scales it proportionally to the center. I'm just going to scale this box in a little bit. You notice it's not having any effect on the flowers itself, just the boxes. Now, here's where it would probably be, you're probably recognizing it. I'm going to go ahead and drop some text in here. Let's call this Yellow Rose, because I can't think of a better name. And it's inside that clipping group, so I'm just going to drag it outside of that clipping group so it's visible. Let's go ahead and align it up. I'll go ahead and leave it in blue text. So here's about where it would end. You would, got a nice presentation of a photo here. Well, I was thinking, what if I took it a bit further? Let's take our original flower image and duplicate it and drag it outside the clipping group so it's back in the background here. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invert the image, invert the values of this layer by pressing Command or Control I. Then I'm going to create a layer mask on this image. Then, using the gradient tool, making sure we're going from a black to transparent gradient, I'm just going to bring the gradient in a little bit outside this area that we've got clipped in here of the original. And I'm also going to drop the opacity of this layer down considerably. Let's go to about 50%. There I have that. Now, if I click on that shape layer, those three shapes, you can see that now I have two layers of those roses, one inverted, one regular, and this one's clipped inside those shapes. If I move those shapes around, you can see it's almost like we're looking through a lens of some kind that's kind of revealing. It's like a blurred version there, and then you can see it's lined up as I move this over. So I may not want just three straightforward boxes there. I may want to have it kind of an interesting shape. So with the shape layer highlighted, bring up my Free Transform by pressing Command or Control T, and I'm going to Control click or right click directly on that object and bring up this menu, and we're going to go to Warp. And we're just going to give this a little bit of visual interest by manipulating these corners here. Let's just kind of create an interesting shape, why don't we? And mind you, look, it's not doing anything to the flowers themselves. It's merely changing the shape of those boxes. And as long as the original flower layer is clipped inside that box, it'll always reveal itself through there, no matter what I do to these shapes. So I can manipulate these and do all kinds of interesting things, and when I'm done, I'll just press enter. And if I want to give it a little bit more depth, even more, simply double click on it, bring up the layer styles, and just add a drop shadow. Increase the height and maybe the distance a little bit. And there you have it. It's taking that presentation technique a little bit further and giving it kind of an abstract look, making it a little bit more visually interesting there. So give it a try yourself, see what you come up with.